Alright, so here we are. That 3D print is going well. Here we have our spaghetti cam. Steady watching. Those of you who do 3D prints know exactly what I'm talking about. But as soon as that's done, we're going to talk about what this is all about. So there you go. For this trek into DIY tech, we're going to do a spool holder because you know we've been printing a lot these days. And one of the big issues that we're having is the spool is not paying out the filament smoothly enough. So we're getting artifacts all over. Let me just show you. Here we go. All right. So the deal is this. We've got, well, as I promised earlier, this finished printing, right? That only took a second, didn't it? Let's turn this off in the meantime. So the deal is this. We've had different types of spool holders. So this one has the two bearings in the top, but when you have a spool that doesn't reach all the way or is not wide enough, one of these rollers will be off, and you can see there's some marks there from where the rollers just fall off there. And then we have this one. This is the original one, which has no sort of bearing on it whatsoever. That was the original dude right there. But you can see on there, friction. The spools used to just grind off on there. And this has a texture too. I don't know who came up with that, but that's what came with the printer. Obviously that had to go immediately. Then the next generation was this, and you can see the bearing in there. Everybody who knows about the skate bearings that get used in there. But that was the next family member there. And then, all right, so this wasn't rolling too well, as you can see there at a point sometimes. Let me get it somewhere where I can focus. At a point sometimes we would get some grinding there. Again, this was the next one, which the roller got bigger, but has not helped that issue because it'll go along when the spool is right up next to here. So we have this lateral pressure on there, and so that bearing just stops rotating at a point, and then we get the same issue with the grinding. So we've got this guy, and you know what? Let's take a break real quick, and we'll go to the CAD real quick. I'll show you what it does. All right, so you can see there it's a pretty simple design. Let's pull out the rollers and the bearings so you can see what this what everything actually looks like here. So I made these axles in several pieces so that this whole assembly here could be put down on the build plate. So it could be printed flat on the build plate in this orientation. And then that way, you know, the less support you have, the better it is always. So the only support's going to be in this area and this area, really. So the only real requirement was that the rollers fit in there, and you'd be able to remove the rollers and bearings. Everything just fits in there. The assembly is not glued in there. There's no screws or anything that hold anything in. The only thing we're going to reuse is the hardware that's currently holding up the spool holder that's in there now. So we're going to do that. And so you can come back and see how the spools are just resting in there. And I made sure there was enough space in here so that the end of the axles on these spools didn't hit anywhere. But that's basically it. So let's see what that looks like in real life. All right, so cool. This is going to be super hard to get off of here because I've got a whole layer of PVA. Let's do this. We'll go into, conveniently have this puppy set up here. We'll put that in there so you can watch my struggles as I try to liberate some of these parts. So if I can get under that edge there. Ooh. Oh man, I'm tearing that up. I should have made a lip on there so I could get it off easier, but here we are. Oh man. All right. You know what? I'll do that off camera. This one, I'm sure this one's going to be like horrific to try to pull off of there. Oh, maybe not. Ooh. Oh, that's nice. Glad you guys were here for that one. So this material is really good. Carbon fiber filled, but you see, man, it separates really nice from the supports. Oh, that's beautiful. One of the major parts of this was I didn't want this sagging. This is where the maker beam or the aluminum extrusion is going to go into. And then we're going to use the existing screws and hardware to go through here. So I have some nice countersinks recesses in there. This is going to be, so these are registration marks. Because it printed this way, I have negative registration marks in there. This is for the placement of these guys, which is going to be holding the bearings for lateral movement of the whole spool there. You'll see in a second. And these, let me see if I can just liberate these like this and it doesn't break off, because obviously the layer lines are going this way. We have something for that, don't worry. So let me see if oh, yes. Awesome. You'll see that that's hollow. Let me see if I can reach down here and get what goes in there. And what goes in there, because the layer lines are printed this way. And I did that for a reason. So I didn't want to print the thing this way because I didn't want any distortion that way. I wanted it to be concentric. So I printed it standing up because there's higher accuracy going this way. If you print it like this, it tends to flatten out and sag, and you have the elephant foot going on and the whole thing. So I find that that's better. And so this we're going to smooth out. You'll see when we put it together. But what goes inside of there, we're going to use some epoxy and jumbo bamboo skewers. So that's what's going to give it the strength so that these don't break off. These little axles don't break off by getting, having all that weight of the spool on there. We're going to put, and let's see if this even fits. I don't even know. So I don't even know if it's going to fit. Let's check it. So let's pull one of these out of there and we'll see. This is kind of hard doing this on camera. And it fits. Nice. That's good. There's a little bit of a film on the bottom where it was contacting the build plate, but let's see if we can push through there. Yep. Awesome. So that'll work. We just cut this off and epoxy these in at each end, and we'll have the strength we need there. So great. All right. Oh, wow. That one just came right out of there. Cool. All right. So let's go to the bench and we'll show you how all of this goes together. So we got everything pulled off of there finally. These popped off. Surprisingly, as soon as I got the spatula under one of the edges there, they just popped off. So you'll see that it has the same, it's basically the end of one of these guys where I just lopped off the rest of this, and it's still, as you can see, it still has it's got a little bit of elephant foot, so you can't get it all the way through there, but it's the same geometry. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take the file. You'll see a little ridge there from the printing. That's where the print head stops and moves to the next layer. So we're just going to do a little bit of cleanup there. We'll just take the file and knock that off. And so I'll go ahead and do this off camera real quick, and then we'll continue from there. But bam! That didn't take too long at all, did it? So now there are ways to get rid of those little artifacts in the slicing software by adjusting settings and stuff like that. But I'm only going to print 2 sets of these, and the time that it took me to file that off is less than the time it would have taken me to fiddle around with those settings. So here we are. But there you can see that that's smoothed out very nicely. Probably didn't have to do that because that little ridge was so small. But I don't want to give this spool any excuse for not being able to roll around on there. So there you go. We've got that all cut up. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to get the bamboo ready. While we have the point on there, maybe we'll poke these pieces out. So this is support for the recess. Boom. It's out. We can use a bit that's almost the same size to clean that up later. But we'll just go ahead and poke. Oh, wow. This one most of it just popped out. Nice. All right. Yeah, we'll use a drill bit to go ahead and clean up the rest of that recess. And these holes are sized again to fit the current hardware that's holding up the spool holder that's in there right now. All right. We've got that set up. We're going to go ahead and glue these guys in place. And we're just going to use some good old CA glue for that. And we're going to use those little locating artifacts there to set that up. And I'm going to push them closer to the inside than to the outside so that the bearing has enough space to actually contact the spool while it's riding in there. So let's get some of that CA going here. You don't need too much because the forces are going to be lateral, so there's not going to be anything trying to pop these off in any way. So, oh, this is cool. I can use the light to actually get that on there centered. Yeah, it could be a little bit off center too, because anywhere inside of this space will be good enough to kind of keep the spool from wandering off this way. Hello? And we'll do the same over on this side. And the base will almost be done. And it doesn't need that much either. Just a little sprinkling will do, because once you squash that CA glue, it's even better if you have less CA glue. Like less is more, because you want the gap that the CA glue creates, you want that to be small. You want as much material to material, as close as you can get the two materials. All you want is that CA glue to take up the gap between the two materials. And so there you have it. There you go. Let me show you how those work. The axle on those is the same size. So you guys know, we're not advertising this brand. This brand, we bought these ourselves. They did not send these to us. I'm not even going to tell you what brand this is, but this is just the average skate bearing, and those go on there like so. So real simple stuff. And so when we put these in there as well, there's enough space to keep the axle from hitting on either side. So even if we cut these too long for some reason and we glue everything up wrong, as you'll see in a second. It's got plenty of space so that can move back and forth without hitting the ends, and the bearings will be completely carrying these, which is what we want. You'll see that in a second. Here we go. Now I'm going to take my razor saw and mark these so that I can cut a few sections off, and I need to point the end because I'm going to use that for mixing. So I'm going to start from this end, and we'll cut a couple sections off of that. So maybe leave it just a tad bit outside there, and let me see if I can do this without disturbing the camera. So this is cool. Hobby shop, this is a rate. Be careful with this. Don't do what I just did, because this will slice you open in a second. So you can see the teeth are like insanely small on this, and it's like a Japanese saw, you know. Well, not this one, but this is a push, but you can get these in pull, and they make very fine cuts. I mean, you can almost not see the blade there when I turn it into the camera, but these are really, really awesome. This one happens to be an X-Acto. There's different ones out there, but the handle, the blade is replaceable in the handle, so it's just like an X-Acto blade. But these are awesome for making cuts in plastic and wood. They work very well, and if you need to, you know, you have material that you want to save, obviously this is, you know, instead of using a regular hacksaw and so forth, or even a wire cutter, these make a super clean cut, as you'll see in a second. And let me see where I left the mark. See, it's even hard to see where the mark is that I just made, but it's right there. And I'll hold it up like this, and I'll see if I can cut it in the air. Nah, not gonna be able to do that. It's hard to start it. This is bamboo, man. These fibers are serious business. Oh yeah, that's hard. I'm gonna have to get the vise on this one. Here, I'm gonna use the edge of the table. I'll be right back. All right, this is bamboo. Keep an eye out for splinters. So we got 1, 2 of those, and we're gonna use this again as the mixing stick. All right, we don't need all that much epoxy, but we need enough. So we're gonna mix that up now. That's probably too much, but hey. Better than not getting enough out there. So, here we go, here we go. Show you how these go in. I feel like we need mixing music here. I don't make the circles very much when I'm mixing epoxy because I feel like it puts a lot of bubbles in there. But you guys know what you're doing. Everybody has their way of, their favorite way of mixing epoxy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some on the end of that. I'm going to try to get it as far down as I can in there, like so, or as Bobby Dukes would say, like that. One of my favorite makers. So about that much. It's going to gush out when we do it, when we push it out the other way, but I'm going to let it, I'm going to see if I can let it go down in there a bit while I get the other one ready. And so I know it doesn't look like it's going to be enough, but there will be, trust me, because once that bamboo gets pushed in there, it's going to take up most of that space. So this is just so that we can attach the bamboo on the inside to the outside of this axle here, and we just need it to be glued on the ends, right? The center of it It really doesn't matter. We just need that strength so that these don't snap off this way. So now that we did that one, we'll go back to this one since it's has settled in there enough. We're going to go from the other end and push. So glue's on this end. We're going to push it through this way. And then before we push it all the way in, we're going to put a generous amount of epoxy on there. And then you'll see how this, and this just happens to be the end with the elephant foot on it. So what we're going to do is, if there's any excess, we'll actually use the file again and file that off. And so you can see there, it gushes out the other end, and yeah, it's not too messy because that surface tension kind of holds that epoxy there. So we're gonna let that one sit for a second there while we get the other one. So remember the end with the epoxy, we're going to push from this end out that way. So we'll get that in there. This one's even tighter than the other one. We'll get some epoxy on this end. Good amount, a goodly amount, as some of my British friends say. Goodly amounts. And then we'll push it the rest of the way in there, and you'll see how it comes out the other end and kind of takes care of itself. Okay, that's awesome. Oh, we got some epoxy in there. See, I knew that was going to happen. But what we're going to do is we're going to take our nice piece of paper towel. So paper towel, this is textured paper towel. Those aren't going to roll anywhere while I clean this mess up here. This mess I made. Sit in the corner and you think about what you've done. Alright, so I'll clean that up. Good thing is we have plenty of space to make mistakes like this on here because this is not going to roll all the way to the end of it, or we have enough of a gap there for that not to affect anything. So it looks pretty good. Now we're gonna, promised you we were gonna take the bit and clean that out. You can see how it's just about almost the same diameter. So we're just gonna spin that lightly in there, and it's gonna help us remove the rest of that support material. So that just cleans that up real nice like that. Most of it just jumps out of there because of the way the settings are and how nice this filament is. This filament is carbon fiber filled. I think I mentioned that before. But this color purple, I use purple for fixturing and parts that are not going to be permanent parts of any of the projects that I make, and that way I can tell the difference between, on site. If I'm looking from a distance, I can go like, oh, okay, that's not a part that belongs to that project and stuff like that. And so we're going to take advantage of, we have plenty of this. Now that everything that needs a little bit of setting time is glued up, we're going to use the rest of this epoxy inside of these axles here. And we'll let that cure inside of there and provide a little bit of extra strength. It didn't cost us anything since we already had it mixed. We'll use that in there. So it does not go to waste. Let's not waste anything, right? Being careful not to make a mess on the outside of these. All right, good deal. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to give that the requisite 5 minutes to finish curing there. These look pretty good. We don't have to mess around with these. So you can see there, surface tension rounded those off really nice, so we don't have to mess around with those at all. We'll just let that sit there and cure, and we'll be back and show you how that the rest of that goes together. Man, that 5 minutes took a while, didn't it? So here we go. As we did before, those go right on there like that, and then we add another. Yeah, these finish pretty nicely. And add another 2 to the ends there from our box of bearings. Those are pretty inexpensive too. You can buy a whole box of those. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. That'll do, I think. Let's check this out. Put the other one on there. And oh boy, I think that's gonna work. Here, let me get a spool real quick, and we'll give it a spin. All right, I think this is my heaviest filament. Let's see. Let's test it. Okay. Yes. Absolutely. Let me see if I can tilt it a little bit so you can get. Oh yeah. Okay. Okay. It'll never be tilted on the printer, so it doesn't matter. But it looks like the bearings on the side work. Oh, that's gonna do. All right, let's get it on the. Oh yeah. Sorry, I get happy like this when stuff works. And this is the widest spool that I'm ever gonna have on there. Probably gonna regret saying that later, but this is. Oh, I just can't get over that. Okay, let's put it on there. All right, guys. At this point, I gotta confess, I got so excited. I took the other screw out before I even started the camera. But now that the T-nut is in there, we'll see how we fish that out, or we might work with it. I just might push it over and screw the screw down in there. But these things are they go in there with these T-nuts. You'll see in a second, and that's how they attach. Everything gets attached in there. You guys probably know, because you guys probably have Crealities. But there you go. You just loosen it up a little bit and you twist, and the T-nut, when you put it in there and you start tightening it, it twists and goes crossways in that channel. It locks everything in place. So we're gonna use the same hardware, and it might be easier to get it on there. We'll see. We'll extract this screw and we'll use all the hardware that was in there. So now what we're going to do, we'll take the rollers out for now. We've got all this stuff on here. Oh, I knew I was going to do that. Put it in there. Take this out of there just in case we drop stuff, which we're going to, I'm sure. Put this roller in there. So now we're going to put this in the slot. Let's see if we can slide that T-nut. Maybe we can get the T-nut out. This is like a game of doctor, isn't it? Oh, yes. All right, cool. So we're going to push the screws through, and then we'll give the T-nuts a couple of turns. Push the screw through, give the T-nut a couple of turns on there, and see if we can line it up that way. 1, 2, nice. Okay. Oh man. That's what you get when you measure. Let me stop, because I'm probably gonna mess myself up here. Now let's see if those stay in place while we try to get it in there. See if I gave myself enough space. Maybe not. Maybe I didn't. Push these guys up far enough. Let's see. This might be a Might be a fail point here. Oh, no. I did not give myself enough space. You see what's happening? There's not enough space for that to pivot around it. So let's do this instead. Let's drop the T-nuts in there and see if we can line them up with the holes and then screw it in there. Hey, there's unforeseen things that, see if that will stay where it's at, and then we'll try to line it up from the top and drop the screws in there. And hopefully they'll catch. I think they're long enough to where they'll catch. Let's see. See if we can get it close enough. Okay, and we can catch one, and then once we catch one, we can slide it over and catch the other one. Oh yeah, yeah, it worked. That's great. All right, that worked. So cool. All right. Oh, look at that. All right, that was slightly easier than I thought. I got a little nervous there for a second. Let's see if I can do this without cross-threading that. Yeah, there's enough play in there. Oh yeah, nice. All right, we'll give it a little adjustment here. Sorry, allergies are. I think that's where I want the spool. All right, let's give it a little tightening here. We'll see how much this sags when this spool is on there. And you want to push the screw down so that the T-nut clears until it turns and locks into the two little sides. But that feels solid there. Oh yeah. I don't know. I don't think it did it there. I'm gonna push on this guy. Okay, yeah, that's way out. Let's see if I can. Oh, okay, that one caught. All right. I think I gave it too much space though. All right. Let's see what that does with the spool in there. All right, 1, 2. Nice. My 2 other bearings. And let's see what it does with my heaviest spool on there. Oh, son. Hello, it's me. Okay. All right, let's get off the tripod here. And I'll give you like a real quick. So a lot of times when I'm doing 3D prints, and we don't have two print heads here. So what I do is, if I want to do multicolor prints, like with prints with different layers of colors, I do a quick change where I pull the spool off, and I cut it, and then I feed it through, and it pushes the previous color through, and then it continues with that next color. So when I do that, you see I don't have enough space here to easily change spools. I'll show you with the other one. Oh, that's nice. I love that. I'll show you with the other one. See, if I'm gonna do that, I have to go all the way out here, and sometimes that takes more time than I would like when I'm doing that quick change thing. But oh, that is awesome, and it's tracking nice. It's not trying to get off of there. There's no situation in which something's gonna push this over, so I'm not worried about that because the bed moves back and forth this way, so there's no motion of this causing any motion up here of that. The print head is always moving this way, so that there's not going to be anything to cause the, and even if it did, look at this. I believe that that will work, gentlemen and ladies. Ba-bam. So, yeah. We're going to repeat that on our... So this is our TPU printer. We're going to repeat that for our regular, for our more solid filament printer. Yeah, I have it split up. This is PLA and carbon fiber PLA, and then we have TPU over here. So we're going to do this, repeat this on the other side, and then we'll be good to go. Hey, so that was pretty quick and easy, right? For you guys, because all you had to do was watch. This is going to vastly improve that, and it only cost me a few bucks for those bearings. So it's a well worth investment to have that done. The other thing is, those printers have been going for a long time, so I have gotten my money's worth out of those things years and years. And they are, the quality that I'm getting out of them with the new filaments is awesome, especially, you know, prototyping and things like that. So I'm going to keep that going as long as I possibly can. So, hope you got something out of this. If you guys want, let me know in the comments, and I'll make those 3D models available somewhere. One of the 50,000 repositories. We'll pick one and set that up, maybe even on the website. Might be the easiest way. So just leave me a comment, let me know. Any suggestions, questions, or otherwise, also let me know in the comments, and we'll try to address all of those. As always, I appreciate the time you spend with me. We'll see you in the next video. So, little extra credit notes here. While putting the second one in, I figured out why it was a little wobbly when I tightened down the screws on there. Looks like the screws are bottoming out. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove that that countersink at the top. So we're going to remove that countersink at the top there, and then that'll bring the screws back up a bit, and we'll get rid of that little wobbly in there. But there you go.